Okay, so we're back again this week, very shortly. Today's a big one. Obviously, you've seen the title screen, you know what it is. Iron Man 3, the first big blockbuster of the summer. Of course, everyone's been hyping it out for months, everyone's been looking forward to it, so how does it hold up? Sarah's with me today. We're originally going to have more people here, but Grant's car broke down, Raj had to do other things.
A work-related thing.
Work-related, kind of, sort of work-related, but Cliff had work-related issues, that's why he didn't show up.
Yes.
But, so yeah, so just me and Sarah, and for the most part I liked it. There's one issue. Going into this movie, I know a lot of comic fans are pissed. It's like, why? It can't possibly be that bad. Now I get it, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, it's because of the two of us in this car, you're the comic expert.
Yes, this is the part where the comic nerd in my name comes to handy. Because I have a few things to say. It's not, I don't think it's as bad as some people are making it out to be, but I definitely see where the rage is coming from. So, what do you think? Well,
as I mentioned on the way to the car, basic impression, this movie is a non-stop, edge-of-your-seat, kick-ass thrill ride from start to finish. There's a lot of explosions, it rarely slows down, there's a lot going on, visually, auditorially. Yeah, it's just kick-ass.
Yeah. I liked a lot of it. There's a lot of stuff I did like about it. That one thing that I mentioned that pissed off a lot of fans, admittedly, it almost ruined it for me, but
really?
Almost did. And again, we'll get into it. But general impressions, I thought it was really good. I think it's a big upgrade for Iron Man 2. In fact, it is very different from the previous two films, because as everyone knows, this, most people know, I should say, this is directed by Shane Black rather than Jon Favreau. So that has a very different feel, has a very different style to it, and I like it. It works well to its advantage. I like that it's much more about Tony Stark than the last movie was. Which is big, like, here's Tony Stark with Nick Fury and Scarlett Johansson. Look what they do. That pretty much what it was tying into the Avengers. This one is much more of a Tony Stark story and his stuff, and the action is the best in the series, without a doubt.
And there's a lot of it.
Yeah, and the set pieces are extraordinary in this movie. I think some of the most clever action sequences I've seen in, like, comic book movies. Just in the way it's done. Like, have the basic story, it's based on the Extremis storyline, which admittedly I haven't read, so I don't know how. Obviously, the Mandarin isn't in that one, so it doesn't follow too closely. But it's basically about a guy, played by Guy Pearce, who invents this, like, kind of a virus, pretty much, that basically causes people to spontaneously combust if not applied correctly. If it does work, though, you can increase your body heat, regrow limbs, and basically burn the crap out of everything, including breathe fire, which was interesting.
Yeah, and Rhodes' character pretty much summed up the reaction I think most of the audience members had. Like, you breathe fire.
Okay. Don Cheadle comes back to Rhodey in this one. He's actually very good in this one. For the brief moment he's on screen, I think he did his part very well. He's kind of come into his own in that particular part.
I was very impressed. Spoiler warning.
We give spoilers on this show?
I was very impressed that he basically saved the President of the United States without any armor and just using intelligence, ingenuity, and military training.
Well, there's actually a lot of sequences without really the armor, or kind of sort of the armor. It plays around a lot with that, which I thought was really clever in how they did that, and the execution was practically flawless, accuracy-wise, because you can see what's happening, the CGI looks great, like, it's not like Transformers, like, what the fuck is happening? You clearly understand what's happening. It's all very fast-paced, but it looks great. It plays great, and it's, of course, adrenaline pumping.
Yes, very much so.
I do want to talk about the main issue with the movie, and pretty much every comic fan's going to agree with me in this, I'm sure, which is the Mandarin. Now, I'm probably going to go on a bit of a rant here. Now, granted, I'm not a huge Iron Man fan, but I do know enough to know why people are pissed. And it's a huge spoiler warning. Ben Kingsley plays the Mandarin in this movie, and it turns out that's not the real Mandarin. The real Mandarin is Guy Pearce's character, which you don't find out till halfway through the movie. Now, why are people pissed about this then? Well, because in the comic books, what you see with Ben Kingsley's character is basically the Mandarin. He's got a Chinese warlord kind of a character, and who basically has these... And this character has magic. Of course, in this universe, you can't have that, so I'm not surprised they took that out.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, I actually liked Ben Kingsley's interpretation of the character going into it, like, okay, this is kind of interesting. I kind of like where he's going with this. I even like the speech patterns. But it turns out it's an actor named Trevor who Guy Pearce hired to basically put a public face on the whole terrorist thing.
To pretty much be a figurehead.
To basically a scapegoat for when basically the whole thing is they're trying to perfect the extremist technology, but it keeps blowing up on them, literally. So that's the core of the story, and even then, even I would like, what? Because the Mandarin is a huge character in the Iron Man lore. He's basically like Iron Man's nemesis in the books.
I remember you mentioning that.
Because it's like, this is a huge character. People, comic fans, myself included, want to see his character done for years, ever since the first Iron Man came out, and to see it, like, to pull the red herring on us, it's kind of cool. It's like, even with the changes, like, okay, this is the Mandarin. I like this. I want to see more of this. Like, nope, not the real one. Here's Guy Pearce. Enjoy. And it's like, and that pissed me off, and I'm not even a huge Iron Man fan, so I can only imagine what the real Iron Man fans have just been furious at this. And I get it. I get why, because it's kind of I wanted the real Mandarin. This doesn't feel like the real Mandarin.
Yeah, that was a weird twist. I mean, granted, I know nothing about the Iron Man comic book universe, or universes, I'm sure. Yeah. But just as a novice film goer, or comic book novice, that kind of took me out of it. It was one of those take a step back, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why?
That's what, and yeah, from both a movie and a comic book fan standpoint, it was kind of just an odd twist, and it's like, no, give me that's like, I like this, keep it going, don't do that shit on me. Yeah,
and he passes out drunk mid-conversation. He's a bumbling idiot.
Yeah, it's like, and that just like completely killed any momentum I had going for that particular character, and it was like, that made me mad, and I guess it made a lot of other people mad too.
Understandably so.
Yeah, and like I said, I completely get it. That being said, I still think I'm not a big Guy Pearce fan, but I do think he did a good job as the villain in this movie. It was nice, if nothing else, it was nice to see a fight scene final fight scene that lasted longer than 5 seconds. Yes,
it was Guy Pearce's character was actually a formidable foe for Iron Man.
Yeah, and it worked. I like that whole action because I thought that was done very well. It took me a while to get over the whole Mandarin thing because I was still mad. There were a lot of the second half, not like seething mad, like say if they turned Spider-Man to Doc Ock. That we actually did that, and a lot of people are still pissed. I'm still pissed. But
are they more pissed about that or more pissed about One More Day?
It's debatable. To be entirely honest, for those who aren't familiar with the comic book franchise, right now we're going to the Superior Spider-Man series. I know this is off topic, we're talking about, so I might as well go all the way.
It's a comic book movie, it's connected, sort of.
Guys, what they did in the most recent Spider-Man story arc is they, Spider-Man and Doc Ock swapped minds, and then Spider-Man in Doc Ock's body dies. So basically, Doc Ock is the new Spider-Man, in the series known as Superior Spider-Man. People are pissed, to say the least. We know they're going to change it eventually.
Yeah.
But for the time being, people are not pleased. I don't really blame... Why is that blinking?
I don't know.
Ah, shit.
Has it not been recording?
Okay, so where was I?
Superior Spider-Man?
Yeah, I think we're done talking about that. So, okay, so we were almost ran out of memory. Thankfully, I caught it before we lost anything. But
yay!
Anyways, let's rant about Superior Spider-Man. Let's talk about the movie. back to the movie, though. It's like, so yeah, that really annoyed me. I thought that was really just, I think it kind of feels almost like a middle finger to, like, Iron Man fans a little bit.
I can see that.
So it's like, I understand people pissed. I'm still a little mad about it. I don't think I was mad at some people, because, again, Iron Man's not my favorite character. I love the character, but he's not my favorite, so I can get why.
I love Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Oh, Robert Downey Jr. is still great. I mean, he is Iron Man, pretty much. He solidifies the character, which worries me that he's talking about kind of retiring the role fairly soon. I hope he doesn't do it, at least for a while.
Well, they did kind of tie a bow on it.
A little bit, but you know he's coming back.
I hope so.
Well, he has to for Avengers 2, at least.
True.
Well, presumably, I'm fairly certain they renewed their contract, although we'll find out in time, I guess.
Yeah.
That being said, it's like Gwyneth Paltrow's still really good in this, and she's fit, by the way.
Yes.
I couldn't help but notice, like, dear God, she is in shape.
Hard to believe that she had a kid or two, or however many, I've lost track.
However it works, but it's like, I thought, like, overall, this is very well cast, despite the whole Mandarin thing, which just makes my nerd heart just pound in rage slightly. Again, slightly, not as hard as I say. They did pull One More Day in Spider-Man or something like that.
So, on the nerd rage a meter, where would you...
I'd give it roughly a 6 on the nerd rage meter. It's like, I'm not fuming about it. I still enjoyed the movie, but it's enough that it's definitely took me out of it for a little while. Like, I kind of found my way back.
Yeah.
So, I guess we should go over the basic story then. The movie starts off through narration, which is new to the Iron Man franchise.
It is. Tony Stark is doing a voiceover, basically telling his story, starting back in a hotel in Switzerland in New Year's Eve, 1999, which...
I'll do that, person.
Hi! Which might be why they chose to open the movie up with Eiffel 65's Blue, which
is just kind of an odd little choice. Oops.
Yes, speaking of music. It's an odd little choice.
Okay.
I mean, granted, it was a song that was popular in late 99.
Yeah, when was the last time you heard it anywhere?
2000. I am not going to answer that because I'll date myself.
Fair enough. Okay.
Actually, the last time I heard it was as Raj's ringtone.
Why does that not surprise me?
So that's how it opens up. You see a younger Tony Stark being a younger Tony Stark with on New Year's Eve with the drinking and the women and blowing off business.
And it takes place in Switzerland. What happens is Guy Pearce's character, when he introduced him in the movie, is he works for A.I.M, which I thought was a nice touch.
So, yeah, when that plot point came on screen, I heard you go, oh.
Well, in the comic books, A.I.M stands for, what was it again? I can't remember the acronym. Like, some fancy scientific term.
Something minds.
Advanced,
inventing, or... I don't
something
know.
like that. Anyway, either way, in the comic books, A.I.M is a large science-based terrorist organization.
Okay.
So I pretty much caught that one right away.
Clearly.
So that's like, I was like, oh, okay, cool, we're doing that. I thought that was nice. And of course, like, streaming stuff like that. There's a lot of nods to the comic books, and minus the middle finger. Like, even when all the Iron Mans come out at the very end of the movie, there's...
Is that in the books?
Not necessarily, but you can get a lot of the different... Iron Man, of course, has had tons of armor through the course of the history of the Iron Man franchise. So, of course, you get a lot of, like, the Hulkbuster armor and the stealth armor and the ultimate armor, stuff like that. So, and a lot of stuff I didn't catch. So, I'm sure for, like, a lot of comic fans, they'll notice all the different variations that popped up in the movie. Mm-hmm. Which led to one of the movie's best action set pieces, but we'll get to that, I guess. So, yeah, it turns out Guy Pearce in this, when you see him first, he's kind of this Weasley, kind of a really nerdy-looking guy. And now the ladies got him, gonna roll back the windows back down a little bit. Okay.
Then he's socially awkward, and he looks kind of disheveled and decrepit, and
he has a cane and all that stuff. So
and he's trying to get a meeting with Tony Stark and meet him up on the roof.
Which, of course, he's drunk and ignores completely. So
because he'd rather get laid by the hot botanist chick.
I can't necessarily blame him, but and then so that basically steamrolls his whole storyline towards the end of the movie. And then, of course, it flashes back several years later where he's in a relationship with Pepper Potts.
Present day.
So, and then, of course, but I thought he was Trump. I kind of like the whole storyline with the New York thing, where basically the events of the Avengers actually kind of traumatize him in the present day.
Yeah, okay. Iron Man is still kick-ass and strong, but he has PTSD in this film.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of nice that they actually kind of incorporated that.
Yeah, he flat out denies it, which is a symptom of PTSD, but he has PTSD.
Yeah, so it's like, I thought that was nice how they kind of incorporated that. It made him feel a little more human, like he's just not taking this in stride. He almost died in a freaking alien attack. I think that would have some kind of, extracurricular, I don't know.
Some psychological side effects?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. It's worth noting I'm very tired. It's been a very long past few weeks. But anyway. So, yeah, that was a nice little touch. And then, of course, like, there's a terrorist organization called the Ten Rings, led by the Mandarin, who we think is Ben King's, but really is just Guy Pearce. And yeah, that pretty much sums up that part of the movie. And then through the course of the movie, of course, there's an attack. There's one of the guys with the extremist virus explodes right in front of Happy, which is played by Jon Favreau, the original director. And
okay.
And he gets injured, which inspires Tony to go on camera, basically give him their home address and tell him, like, just bring it on, you bastard, pretty much. And so he does.
Yeah.
And he ends up in Tennessee because, due to investigation, he was looking into the bombing, them to like original bombing, which took place, of course, in Tennessee. So basically, he's stranded in Tennessee with no armor because armor he has pretty much destroyed. Where he meets up with a little kid named what was his name? Howard.
I didn't quite catch his name. I did notice that it was snowing and all this stuff was taking place around Christmas
Which
time.
is weird for a summer movie.
It is. I thought that too. It's like, okay, well, why didn't they release this in December? I would have loved to see this on Christmas Day.
That would have been awesome, yeah. So yeah, then they have their own little storyline for which, to give him credit, that it's not like kind of, the kid isn't annoying, which was nice.
He's smart.
He's smart, he has his own little funny one-liners, he's actually useful.
And he actually reasons with Tony during one of his flashback panic attack moments.
Well, he's actually a kid that bounces off well of Tony Stark, of Robert Downey Jr., which is actually impressive for a child actor. So it's like, bravo to that little kid, even though he's not in the movie for very long.
But, he helps to move the plot along, which makes him a significant enough character worth noting. He
serves his purpose, and that's why we're talking about him now, because he did do a good job. He's both entertaining and he moves the plot forward, so good for him. And of course, we had one of the best action scenes, because it's like my favorite in the movie, is actually the part where basically it's like, well, you're a mechanic, right? Build something.
Yes.
So it goes into the place where it turns out the Mandarin place is being shot and broadcasted. And he does stuff by basically going to Home Depot, buying a whole bunch of random crap and making little makeshift weapons out of it. And that was probably the coolest part of the movie, because basically Tony Stark becomes the spy. Yeah. Which I thought was very fun. I thought that was a very fun idea.
Oh yeah, and it's a nice kind of going back to who is Tony Stark. Tony Stark is
he's a genius,
a genius, a scientist, an innovator, and he basically goes into this supposed base of operations for the Mandarin with no armor and just some made up crap that he got from Home Depot.
Yeah, so I really like that. I kind of like that. I like that they showed a lot of Iron Man without the armor kind of thing. I thought that was I like that change of pace. I thought that was all done very well. Of course, Shane Black is great at action. I'm learning nowadays. I'm not too familiar with his work up to this point. I know he's in some classic. Did he do Black Hawk Down or?
I thought that guy looked familiar. Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. I'll look him up on IMDb later. But anyway, so he has all that, and of course he gets captured and by the bad guy who learned is really Guy Pearce at that point.
Yeah.
And then he calls himself the man. I kind of liked, I hated the whole Mandarin twist, but I did kind of like how he called himself the Mandarin at the very end, because it was kind of fitting that he was supposed to be his nemesis. I'm not a big fan of the twist, but it could have been worse.
And I kind of liked that they were... I mean, when you took away the technology and stuff, they were kind of fighting over their egos and a girl.
Yeah, well, to be fair, to Guy Pearce's character, as far as Marvel villains go, he's probably the most complex.
How so?
Well, he actually has motivation. He's not just and let's face it, the first two villains in the first Iron Man movies were not exactly all that complicated. Whiplash was just a Russian dude who wanted revenge for his father, but beyond that, there wasn't much to him other than that. I mean, I love Mickey Rourke, but his character wasn't much to his character necessarily.
True, and Obadiah was just greedy.
Yeah, exactly. So they weren't all that interesting. This one kind of has more going on for him a little bit. He kind of has a reason to hate Tony, even though he doesn't necessarily hate Tony. My point is he's more complicated than say the previously written characters. He's kind of right there. I still say Loki, as far as complexity, is more interesting.
Yes.
But I still thought, as far as Iron movies go, he's probably the most interesting villain, despite the stupid twist.
Yeah. I can see that.
So it's I still thought he did a good job, all things considered. And of course, it led to the best action sequence, was the final action sequence, which is after Tony gets captured and inevitably escapes. He finds out that he kidnapped the president. Actually led to two great action sequences. I take it back. The one I'm thinking of is worth noting. Is what happens is he captures Don Cheadle playing Rhodey, and then basically captures the Iron Patriot suit. They call it the Iron Patriot instead of the War Machine in this one because they gave it a paint job. Now again,
patriotic paint job.
Now again, this is a nod to the comic books because the Iron Patriot in the comic books is actually Norman Osborn.
Really?
From Spider-Man. But of course you can't include Norman Osborn in this one because that belongs to it's whoever owns Spider-Man right now. So obviously they can use Norman Osborn in this movie. It's not Fox, because Fox owns X-Men.
Isn't Spider-Man also Marvel, which makes it a Disney property?
Yes and no. Problem is, Sony. Sony owns the movie rights to Spider-Man, which means he owns all the character rights to for the movies as well, which means they can't use Norman Osborn in this movie yet because it's all purely Marvel-based.
I see.
So, while it is Disney-produced, Marvel still owns the right to the character Norman Osborn, Sony owns the Norman Osborn movie rights. It's all very complicated copyright bullshit.
There are future careers in entertainment contract law to be had.
Yeah. In other words, Norman Osborn can't appear in these movies until the Spider-Man rights are eventually transferred back to Marvel, which won't happen until they finally start milking the franchise. So yeah, Norman Osborn is obviously not going to be in this movie, so they made it Tommy Rhodes instead, which again I thought was a clever twist on the character.
Yeah.
So yeah, then back to the story though. They capture Iron Patriot, use the Iron Patriot armor to capture the president off the Air Force One, which led to one of the best scenes in the movie, which was the saving sequence.
The barrel of monkeys, that was amazing.
Where basically Tony Stark, using basically remote-controlled armor,
yes,
saves like 13 people off Air Force One flying through the air, which was just a fantastic sequence.
Yes, it is.
And you've seen it in the trailers. It looks amazing in the movie. It is one of the best sequences in the movie. It is a very adrenaline part, and it's one of Shane Black's best action sequences in the movie, which is followed by one of the second best, in my opinion, which is the final action sequence, in which he basically summons all the Iron Man suits he has locked in his basement up to basically fight all the extremist people.
Operation House Party.
And again, yeah, pretty much. And I thought that led to some of the most clever uses of the Iron Man armor I've seen up to this point.
Yes.
Where he seemed like separating like dozens of people beat the crap out of everyone. It just looked fantastic. And of course, the final fight scene with Guy Pearce, which again looked great because Iron Man, like Tony Stark, he's swapping between one Iron Man suit to another. It looked great. It was fantastic to watch.
And Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts.
Gwyneth Paltrow kicks some ass.
It's a switch. She actually saves Tony for a change.
Well, because Gwyneth Paltrow gets captured and gets injected with the extremist virus.
Yes.
And at the very end of the movie, you think she's dead, although you know she's not dead.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that she wasn't.
It's like he kind of knew she wasn't going to die. He was like, no, they're not going to kill her off. They would have made a much bigger deal about it if they did. But
true.
So I kind of saw her return coming, and of course she does, and she kicks Guy Pearce's ass after, like, he basically burns off his skin, starts falling off, and he has this big old speech like, "You want the Mandarin? I am the Mandarin!" Yeah, which I just kind of liked in a weird way. But then, of course, Gwyneth Paltrow basically just beats the living shit out of him and knocks him away.
And then after she cools down, literally and figuratively, she says, "Oh, that was very violent."
So yeah, and then they have a good moment. Of course, Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow still have great chemistry in this movie. That hasn't changed at all. And of course, they go back, and then a few interesting choices, like the shrapnel gets taken off Tony Stark's heart, which I thought was interesting, which actually does happen in the comics. So I wasn't too surprised by that.
Okay.
Gwyneth Paltrow obviously gets the extremist virus taken out, and it kind of hints that Iron Man is over.
Yeah, they basically tie everything up in a nice knot. Which
I don't think it's going to happen, because I think they still want him for Avengers 2. You know that's going to happen. So it's like, they're going to get him on board for Avengers 2. You know it's going to happen. It's not that big of a surprise. So we'll find out what happens with that.
I hope so, because I love Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, he does a great job.
In this role. I understand why he would want to do other projects, but please come back, Tony, please.
You're only going to get him back. I mean, he's like one of the title characters. He's one of the title characters. He started everything for Marvel at this point in time, so they're going to get him back. I'm almost positive they're going to. And then you had the after credit scene, which was a nice little touch. Yes. Which was he's telling all this to what's the actor's name? The Hulk, pretty much. He's telling all this to Bruce Banner, who played the Hulk in the Avengers. You didn't catch that?
That was Mark Ruffalo? That
was Mark Ruffalo.
Oh wow!
You didn't get that?
No, I didn't. Nice. Sorry. Yeah.
So that's what the whole narration comes in, though. Basically, it's like he's telling all this to Bruce Banner, Mark Ruffalo's character, who plays the Hulk, and that's where the whole joke is like, I'm not this kind of doctor. I'm not a therapist. Like, it's like, why? It's like my temperament. It's like,
and I didn't recognize him. He had grayer hair. So
it was a little bigger, but that was Mark Ruffalo. So that's where that whole joke came from, and that's kind of the tie into the Avengers universe.
Nice.
So again, that's where you know why they're going to come back as the Avengers, because of that alone. So like, oh, and one thing I didn't know, I kind of was wondering this myself, was when when they have all these armors and also kick all kinds of ass, I was like, okay, how are they going to wrap this up so they don't have a question of why the hell doesn't he do this when Avengers 2 comes around? And of course, is that as a clean slate, he blows up all the armors. Which I thought was kind of a cheap cop-out. I was like, oh, okay, fine. I kind of accepted. I expected something like that.
His Christmas gift to Pepper, basically.
In May. But...
Well, in the movie, it's Christmas time. In the movie, it's Christmas.
But, yeah, I think it about sums up everything that's worth mentioning in the story, unless I could think of anything else. So overall, I still enjoyed it, despite the stupid twist.
Yeah, it's still an A movie, and if it wasn't for the twist, it would have been an A+, but it's still a good, solid A movie.
I still think it's pretty good. I still enjoyed it. I wish they had the real Mandarin in this.
I would have liked to see that, even though I don't know anything about the character other than what you've told me.
Yeah. So it's like, I would have liked to have seen that. I get why comic fans are pissed. I still enjoyed it regardless. If you're not a comic fan, you'll enjoy this fine.
Yes. Yeah, so it's a fun, fast-paced action comic book movie that men and women can enjoy.
It's like, if you are a comic fan, you are going to have an issue with this. I can almost guarantee it. Personally, I managed to still enjoy it regardless, although I'm still a little ticked about it. Not as ticked as a lot of people are, but I get why. If you're a fan of Iron Man, you're going to have issues with this, but try to let it go, I guess, is the best I can really say. It's not easy, but try.
Yeah, just try to sit back, relax, and enjoy all the pretty explosions.
Exactly, so... I guess we should move on to trailers then, since we've said everything we had to say about the movie for now until final word. Yes. So we actually had some good trailers for this.
We did. Pretty much a showcase of the expected blockbusters.
Yeah, so we had Star Trek 2 again, which I'm really looking forward to. I think it's going to be good. Now, I know you are a Trekkie, which means you have this whole prepared speech you were saving just for the Star Trek review. So I think we'll give you the first 10 minutes for that when that time comes.
Well, the speech may change, but there are some... there are some things that I wish to vent about. You caught a small preview in the theater about one issue or one nitpick.
So yeah, we'll get that little spiel in a couple of weeks. I think when that movie comes out.
Yee.
And then we had
the Man of Steel.
The Man of Steel, which I'm actually really looking forward to. I didn't think I was going to when the movie was announced. Well, I always hoped it was going to be good when I heard Zack Snyder was going to direct in it, because I like Zack Snyder. A lot of people don't like him. I get it if you don't.
What else has he directed?
He directed 300 and Watchmen.
Okay.
And also Sucker Punch, which was not a very good movie. And that Weird Al's movie, which was animated with Elijah Wood. But anyway.
The only Weird Al movie I'm aware of is...
No, not Weird Al. Owl.
Oh.
Owl. Like it was like an animated movie about owls. Like...
Oh, yeah. No idea about that.
But it's like, it looks really good. I think the big challenge with Superman, as a lot of people, directors have always said, is how to make him relevant. I think they've kind of done a good job here with kind of making him like the outcast character. So I think I honestly think that'll be good. I'm more hopeful about it than I should be, but we'll find out when that comes out.
Yeah, it's a franchise that hasn't had much luck since Christopher Reeve's passing. May he rest in peace.
Unfortunately, even before then, it kind of struggled after 2. That's kind of the French, like 3 I heard was terrible. I've never seen it. 4 wasn't much better. Then of course you had Superman Returns, which is kind of one of those, it's kind of like Ang Lee's Hulk, where some people are okay with it. Most people don't like it.
Was that the one with Kevin Spacey as Luthor?
Yes, that was the one.
Okay.
That was the Bryan Singer directed one. So yeah, I have hypes for that one, and then we had Thor 2, which also looks pretty good.
Which is coming out in November.
It was kind of a odd day for that to come out, but I get why. But it's like, first off, a few things I noticed is they changed the Thor suit, so it doesn't look quite as goofy as it did, and then like it looks more like an actual suit rather than just plastic.
And I am, well, I normally don't get too excited about Natalie Portman characters. She's kind of hit or miss for me personally.
Oh, come on, Black Swan.
I haven't seen it yet. So.
You haven't seen Black Swan?
Not yet.
You're missing out. Okay.
Yes.
Lesbians seen it all, but...
I'm not into girls, Michael.
I know that, but that's more for me than you.
But I am excited to see her character come back and in the Thor movie.
Well, I mean, it's like you have Tom Hiddleston coming back as Loki, and he's always great. I loved him in the first Thor. I think I even liked him in the Avengers, although his motivations were a little more confusing.
Kind of forced and ambiguous, but okay.
It's true, although I think there's a theory online about the fact that he was meant to lose the whole time, but it's actually a very interesting theory. Look it up.
Huh.
The theory is that in the original Avengers, that Loki never really wanted to win at all, because he doesn't give a shit about Earth. He just wants to take over Asgard. That's kind of his thing.
So he just wants to cause chaos.
Well, yeah, that's one thing too, but he's basically, the whole thing is he wants the people to think he's defeated and take it back to Asgard so he can take it over, basically when they're not expecting it. That's the theory overall. So,
makes sense.
It makes sense. Although, personally, I think if you're really looking at the Avengers, if that's not the case, I kind of think of just his way of giving it like a middle finger to his old man and Thor. It's like, fine, you care about this world so much, I'll just take it over. How you like that?
That works too.
That's kind of the way I kind of saw it. So yeah, and of course it has the Lost alumni playing the main villain in this movie, which is the dark elf with the half burnt off face you saw very briefly in the trailer.
Okay.
So I think that'll be good. I mean, it has the dark elves in there doing all their mystical shit, so it'll be fun. And then we had the Lone Ranger, which still looks kind of mediocre.
But there was one scene towards the end of the trailer that made us laugh. Yeah,
there's a part. Of course, Johnny Depp plays Tonto, I think his name.
Okay.
Yeah, Tonto. Tonto, the racist Indian in this case. I'm sorry, but what the fuck were they thinking with that makeup? Anyway.
Maybe Johnny Depp was thinking, oh, I really like the makeup job I had in that one scene in Pirates 2. Let's do the Indian version of that.
Yeah, because what can go wrong? Anyway. So yeah, and then there's one part where they're on top of a train. They're both in chains, and then he goes like, "You're not like, where do you think you're going?" They get stopped at gunpoint on top of a train. He's like, "Nowhere." He's like, "Yes, we're not going anywhere." "Yes, we are." "No, we're not." "Yes, we are." "Yes, we are." And then of course they get hooked up on a hook when the chain they go fly off. That was kind of funny.
Yes, we are.
So, and then of course Johnny Depp gets a little smile before he flies off. That was funny. I'll give him that much. It's like it could be good-ish. It might be okay. It doesn't look anything remarkable.
Yeah, it doesn't look remarkable. It looks potentially entertaining.
I mean, it's produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, so like his movies are always kind of meh. But so we'll see when that comes out.
Well, I didn't see it. The pacing and the feel of it reminded me of the trailer for Cowboys and Aliens.
I actually like Cowboys and Aliens. Cowboys and Aliens didn't get a lot of love, but I liked it. Okay, so final thoughts?
Iron Man still kicks ass. Definitely go see it.
As a comic fan, there's a few things that I think a lot of people that have my kind of taste are going to be upset with. But otherwise, I still enjoyed it regardless. I still think action scenes are the best in the series. I still think the acting is top-notch. The story is pretty good as well. I still recommend it despite the whole Mandarin thing. As I'm sure you've guessed, the comic nerd part of my name is really coming into play today.
Well,
even though comic has really come to stand more for comedian rather than comic book nerd, but still, it counts.
Well, you can be a nerd of multiple trades.
Very true. But overall, I still recommend it. I still think it's worth checking out, if nothing else. It's better than Iron Man 2.
Yes.
So I think that's about all we got for today. So we'll probably be back later for The Big Wedding 2, The Revenge. So we'll check y'all later for that one and whatever comes out next week, which I think is Peoples and something else, which hopefully won't be as bad. So yeah, see you all then.
See you then.
Turn off.